shall we begin?
Let the games begin.
All right.
A new age has begun. An age of freedom.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Get to the chopper!
This is going to be quite the ride.
And hello, everybody, and welcome to the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host, Christian Renteria, and this is the Movie Pit Podcast, where we talk about all the big breaking movie news items of the week. We also talk about the trailers that came out this week. We have quite a few of those, and we will talk about the movies that are out in theaters and streaming for all your viewing pleasures. There is a lot to get to on the podcast, so we're just going to get right into it. No wasting time. Let's get to it. We're going to start off with trailer talk.
Coming soon to theaters.
So we have quite a few trailers to drop this week. It was a very, very busy trailer week this week. Once again, because last week we had a bunch of trailers last week too. So the trend continues. So the first trailer we're going to talk about very quickly is the first. A lot of these trailers also don't have a lot of trailers are teasers too. So I don't really have too much to say about them. So we're just going to pass through a lot of these. But the first teaser we're going to talk about is for Tar, and it stars Cate Blanchett as a fictional Lydia Tar, a genius composer and conductor who holds the title of being the first female chief conductor of a major German orchestra. The movie is directed by Todd Field, which is his first movie in 15 years, and that was in 2007 with Little Children. The movie will also be composed by a female composer in Hildur, I'm going to mispronounce her last name, Gunnarsdottir? I'm very sure I pronounced that last name. But she was the composer for Joker, where she won, of course, the Academy Award, Golden Globe, and a BAFTA. So she is doing work on the movie, obviously helping probably Cate Blanchett actually do all the motions to being a composer. The movie teaser, rather, again, there wasn't a lot to really go off of. It starts off with almost an unrecognizable Cate Blanchett, because she has like really long hair, and I think they might have done some makeup to her face, and she's like, there's like narration over it, and she's like exhaling all this smoke, and then eventually kind of suddenly breaks to her in an orchestra room conducting, the orchestra. So not really a lot to go off of from the teaser. Toro will open on October 7th, and obviously I'll keep an eye on that, and we'll talk about the full-length trailer whenever, that comes out. Let's move on to the next trailer. This is a full-blown trailer for Medieval. This stars Ben Foster as Jan Žižka. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. Who is placed on a mission to kidnap the niece of the King of France, despite it going against his code, and after he becomes a most wanted man. This is inspired by real events because the character that Ben Foster plays was a real person. I don't know if this actually took place, because my medieval history kind of gets blurred in there, but this may or may not have actually happened. But these were real people. Medieval co-stars Sophie Lowe, who plays the niece, and Matthew Good's in there. He of course played Dr. Ozymandias in Ozymandias in the Watchmen movie from a long time ago. He's also been in a bunch of other stuff, but I'm trying to place him for what most people will probably know him from. And also Michael Caine is in there. He's kind of the one giving the orders to Ben Foster's character. It looks pretty good. I mean, it's a movie that I didn't know anything about until this trailer popped up, and so I don't know. It looks okay. It doesn't look too bad. I hope it's not just generic, because obviously Medieval, that's not really a cool title for what they're trying to do, but hopefully it's good. I'll check that out, because I like medieval stuff. I like medieval movies. It's it's pretty cool. It's a cool setting, obviously, for a movie as well. So Medieval opens on September 9th. The next trailer I talk about is Netflix released the first trailer for their comedy Me Time, which stars Kevin Hart and Mark Wahlberg. The movie will follow Hart as Sonny, a stay-at-home dad who is finally getting his, quote, me time, when his wife, played by Regina Hall, takes the kids on vacation. While she's away, Sonny's old friend Huck, played by Mark Wahlberg, invites him out to a party, and hijinks ensue. Me Time will stream on Netflix on August 26th. Yeah, I don't know. The trailer, it escalates the hijinks and the out there, wild, crazy scenarios. Like it kind of starts off with Kevin Hart going to the bathroom in a bucket. Looks like they're in the middle of a desert, and he finds like this little. You supposedly think it's supposed to be like a little dog. It's clearly not once you get a good look at it, and it's actually a baby cougar. I think it's supposed to be a baby cougar, and then the mother comes and then attacks him, and then kind of just leads to this wild craziness kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, look, I'm not, I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like Kevin Hart for whatever reason. I think part of me was like that. So I think I admitted this on the podcast. Part of me was not the biggest Kevin Hart fan for a little bit because I felt like he was everywhere and like every movie and he was playing kind of the same guy. But then eventually I just, watched some of his movies. I'm like, this guy's pretty funny and I like him. And anytime Kevin Hart shows up, I'm, depending on what it is, I'm game for it. And, but this, unfortunately, doesn't look like it's gonna do it for me. I'll probably end up watching because it is on Netflix and it's at end of August, and but I don't know. It's there. It's me time. It's comedy. It's Mark Wahlberg. He's hamming it up a little bit. So we'll see what happens with that. The next trailer we're going to talk about is MGM released the first trailer for the biopic of Till, the movie's name Till, rather, which follows the story and the fight of Mamie Till Mobley, the mother, of course, of Emmett Till, as she fights for justice for her son. Obviously, I think most of us probably know the story of Emmett Till and what happened to him, what unjustly happened to him. And this movie I don't know if they'll show it because Emmett Till is playing the movie. I forgot to look up who was playing him exactly. The mother in the movie will be played by Danielle Delwire. I forgot to put down what she was in. This looks rather powerful. It looks rather good, to be honest. It kind of shows you her story. I don't know if we ever really found out the story too much of what she did for her son and what happened, because we hear the story of Emmett Till and then that's kind of it. We don't really know we know the aftermath of what his death really, what it started in that community and what it led to, and we'll see at least part of that fight here with her mother's story. So I think that's pretty cool. Till doesn't have a specific release date just yet, but it will be releasing sometime in October. We'll probably be hearing a little bit more of Till. I'm assuming that maybe Till will be in some sort of awards race at some point. I don't know if leading wise, but it'll probably be in there somewhere, maybe. The next trailer we're going to talk about is the first trailer for the Prime Video movie Samaritan. This is led by Sylvester Stallone. The movie follows a 13-year-old boy trying to convince people that the thought-to-be-dead superhero Samaritan, yes, the superhero named Samaritan, which is played by Sylvester Stallone, is actually alive and is now a garbage man named Joe. Joe, however, must protect the boy and become a superhero again to save the city from a new crime lord who is played by Pilo Asbæk, who most people will know from the Game of Thrones, and I, for whatever reason, cannot think of his character. He's the best, captain of the ocean. I can't remember his name. I can't remember his name in the show anymore. But you know him when you see him. He's he's been in other movies. He was also in Ghost in the Shell as well. He plays the partner to Scarlett Johansson's character. So he's been in a lot of stuff since Game of Thrones, and for whatever reason, I just can't remember his Game of Thrones character. But Samaritan, this is a movie that I've seen on the release schedule a lot, and this thing has been pushed back a lot. I don't know if it was for visual effects reasons or if it was for it being sold off to another studio, because I'm pretty sure this movie was supposed to get a theater release and then they pulled it away from the theater release and now it's coming out on Prime Video. So I don't know, but this movie's been around movie's been kicking around a little bit, and we're finally getting it. As for the movie itself, it looks fine. Sylvester Stallone, he's he knows what he's doing. He knows his shtick and he knows what's supposed to sell, and we see a little bit of that here in the trailer itself. I'm just hoping that it's somewhat good. We get a lot of flashbacks, so we will see him. I mean, I don't know if it's actually him because he's wearing a mask most of the time in the flashbacks of him being Samaritan, but we'll see. It does look like there's going to be a lot of destruction and stuff, so maybe we'll get a nice little superhero kick that's not connected to any of the big houses like DC or Marvel. Samaritan will stream on Prime Video on August 26th. All right, so let's talk about the bigger trailers and teasers that came out this week. The first one we're going to talk about is an interesting one, just in terms of how they're promoting the teaser. And it kind of leads me to believe that maybe at some point we're not going to get an actual trailer, or if we do get an actual trailer, it'll be rather interesting to see how they do it with the marketing that they started right now. So that trailer, by the way, Universal released the first teaser trailer for Christopher Nolan's next film, Oppenheimer. There's not really a lot in the trailer because it feels more like an announcement trailer. And again, considering the marketing that is going into it right now, it's kind of interesting why they're going that route. But the trailer does have some narration by different characters. One of them is, you can clearly tell, is Emily Blunt's character, who plays Catherine Oppenheimer, the wife of Robert J. Oppenheimer, who is played by Cillian Murphy in the movie. And I think you hear Robert Downey Jr.'s voice at some point because he is also in the movie. I think he's one of the narrations in there as well. But the trailer has a countdown, and there's like large blasts of fire, and someone finally shows in black and white. Because I'm assuming this movie's going to probably be in black and white because a lot of the stuff they're releasing, press-wise, photo-wise, it's black and white. So the movie might be in black and white at some point, or maybe the whole thing's in black and white, which will be a very interesting choice for Christopher Nolan. But we finally do see at the end Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer. He's putting his hat on and he's walking away, and then that's it. That's the teaser. That's the trailer. And so here, the marketing. Here's why I think it's interesting and why I'm almost skeptical that we'll get another trailer, and if we do, how that's going to play into the marketing of everything. Because if you go to the YouTube link of the teaser, it's not just a video, it's a live video with the teaser on loop, and no matter when you click on it, it's a live video. It's going to give you the real-time countdown until the movie drops, which I find very, very interesting. So I don't know why they're doing that. That's a very interesting marketing ploy. Like, what happens if the live video cuts off? Like, are you going to go back and start all over again? I don't know so if they release another trailer, they're just going to put that trailer up on there, because I've seen the trailer now 3 different times on 3 different things, and the timer is very different every time. So yeah, they're counting down the movie. That's a really cool, nice little marketing ploy until the movie happens. So obviously we'll try to keep an eye on that and see if anything changes in that. So I just think it's rather interesting that they did that. The movie itself is based off the Pulitzer Prize winning book American Prometheus: The Triumph and Tragedy of J. Robert Oppenheimer by Kay Bird and the late Martin J. Sherwin. So if you want to go read the book that the movie is, basing a lot of the movie off, or want to read the book that the movie is going to be, adapting most of it. There you go. The very impressive cast includes, like I just mentioned, Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, Matt Damon, Rami Malek, Benny Safdie, Josh Hartnett, Dan DeHaan, Jake Quaid, Matthew Modine, Alden Ehrenreich, Kenneth Branagh, and a slew of other people. This thing is jam-packed to the gills with people, and it'll be interesting to see who they play. I think Robert Downey Jr. is playing like a businessman who is like against the idea of Oppenheimer having all this power. Like I mentioned, Emily Blunt's playing his wife. I think Florence Pugh is playing I think someone that Oppenheimer had an affair with, if I remember correctly, or something along those lines, or was accused of having an affair with. And then there's just a bunch of other people. Obviously, there's probably going to be all these people are playing someone who are real people. So we'll see how that is. I'm more interested in seeing. I don't know, the lifetime countdown thing threw me off when I saw it, because I'm like, what if they release a trailer, like an actual trailer? Are they just going to, loop it there as well? So yeah, it's rather interesting. So I recommend you go check it out anyway. It's obviously Christopher Nolan. You can't, I know he's very divisive among film fans, especially after, the Dark Knight trilogy, but I'm so excited to see what they do with here, especially with a cast like that. That cast is amazing. Even if they're on screen for like 2 minutes, that cast is amazing. So Oppenheimer will open next year on July 21st. Again, I'll put a link to that trailer. Obviously, I'll put a link to all the trailers down there, but yeah, that's really cool. All right, moving on. The next trailer we're going to talk about is Netflix dropped a new trailer for their highly anticipated and already much talked about biopic of Marilyn Monroe called Blonde. We briefly talked about this when the trailer trailer came out not too long ago. The movie is inspired by the best-selling historical novel of the same name by Joyce Carol Oates and is directed by Andrew Dominique. The movie will show both sides of Monroe's life, as the ever-happy sex symbol to the woman that was born Norma Jean Mortensen and was pushed to stardom until she passed away at the age of 36 by a reported suicide. So Marilyn Monroe, I'll be honest, I think I mentioned this when we watched Taylor. I don't know a lot about Marilyn Monroe. Obviously it was way before my time. But even then, I don't really know a lot about her. So I think this will be a very interesting way of learning something about her that, isn't what, tabloids speak of. The trailer does an excellent and powerful job of showing the two sides. It shows Monroe enjoying the limelight of fame, obviously going to movie premieres and doing iconic pictures and stuff like that, and then everything else of her not being happy. At one point, she's like crashing her car into a tree, and she's not smiling to the cameras anymore, like in the second half of the trailer. And there's one point where she literally like scratches her face, and you can see the scratch marks on her face. I don't know if that was real, like her hallucination that she did, but that was there. And I feel like this is going to be a very powerful and emotional movie, and it shows Ana de Armas, who plays Monroe in the movie. She sells you on this thing. If she didn't sell you on Monroe in the movie from the teaser that came out earlier this year, this definitely sells you, because the movie pretty much is played behind her talking to Bobby Cannavale's character, who's in the movie. I think he's playing Joe DiMaggio in the movie, but it's both of them. The trailer kind of starts off with them in this diner, and she's talking, and she's basically saying like, I'm always Marilyn Monroe. No matter where I go, whether I'm on screen or off screen, I'm always kind of playing Marilyn Monroe, and I can never really be me. I can never really be Norma. I can't be Marilyn Monroe. Like, I can't be myself. And that's really powerful, and that really stuck to me. And you can see that she's kind of crying when she says it too. So that just sold me, honestly. I honestly was not looking forward to this that much. But after watching the trailer, I'm looking forward to it. I think Ana de Armas sold me on the movie and sold me on her performance. Just on that scene of just her and Bobby Cannavale talking, that completely sold me on it, honestly. And if there's any sort of Oscar talk for this movie and for Ana de Armas, I guarantee you it's probably going to be that scene that they showed in the trailer. But yeah, there you go. So Bobby Cannavale, like I mentioned, co-stars in the movie. Adrian Brody stars in the movie as well. I think he's actually playing someone as well. I forgot to mark down who it was. But they're in there. Blonde will stream on Netflix on September 23rd. We'll definitely talk more about this once that movie comes out closer to the release date. All right, let's talk about the next trailer. Netflix. We'll stick with Netflix here. Dropped the first trailer for Guillermo del Toro's stop-motion adaptation of Pinocchio. The movie will follow the basic story of the wooden puppet boy who is brought to life by a magical wish and embarks on an epic journey to become a real boy. Gregory Mann will voice Pinocchio, David Bradley will voice Geppetto, and Ian McGregor will voice Sebastian J. Cricket. Yes, that is his name in this movie, Sebastian J. Cricket, who actually narrates the trailer and gives us the story of the movie while also showing us how different this version will be from other versions that we've seen. The reason because this version, it shows Geppetto, after losing his young son, he actually makes Pinocchio to look like his son. And that immediately makes this version so much more intimate and so much more sadder. Although you can probably assume from the animated movie that Geppetto, is lonely. He's an old man. He doesn't have a wife or anything like that. But I don't remember from the animated movies them ever kind of suggesting that, he made Pinocchio because he lost his son. This version immediately shows you he lost his son. He lost his young boy. And after losing him, he goes into his woodshop and he makes Pinocchio. So Yeah, that just, I mean, it's so Del Toro too when you think about it. But yeah, that's there you go. So the rest of the voice cast, by the way, includes Christoph Waltz, Tilda Swinton, which we do hear in the movie. It looks like she's playing the version of the fairy that brings Pinocchio to life. Finn Wolfhard is also going to be a part of the cast, and of course, you can't have a Del Toro movie without Ron Perlman. He's also going to be in the movie. He's voicing a character called Pontesta. What exactly who that character is, I don't know. I don't know if we even saw him in the trailer, but there's going to be that's what's going to happen. Pinocchio, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio anyway, will play in select theaters in November before streaming on Netflix in December. This is kind of Netflix's new motto. They're playing select movies in theaters for like a week, and then it's usually like the week before, and then they're releasing the movie on their streaming service the week after for everybody to watch. They did that with The Gray Man last week. I think they've done it. They've done it a couple times before. I think last year as well. But it looks like it's going to be a new kind of a new way that Netflix is doing it. Maybe it's also to give some of their movies a chance at the Oscars or an award run. Who knows? But either way, it's going to play in select theaters in November. Assuming probably late in November. There's no exact release date, but if they're saying in select theaters in November and then streaming on Netflix December, it's probably going to be like kind of like maybe that Thanksgiving week probably, and then dropping on Netflix that following week, that first weekend in December probably. So we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, I'll keep an eye on that. I'm a huge Guillermo del Toro fan. I enjoy a lot of his movies and I love a lot more of them. So I'm looking forward to this. I know he's been trying to do this for a while, and this is a movie that he's been working on for some time now. Obviously, stop motion takes some time, and they did this during the pandemic and quarantine and everything like that. So this is pretty cool that they actually got to do this. And this, of course, be the second Pinocchio movie, because we do have another Pinocchio movie coming out on Disney Plus, which is the one directed by Robert Zemeckis with Tom Hanks in that movie. And that movie is live action. I'm sure they'll have CG, and it's a live action CG hybrid. But yeah, this is the second Pinocchio movie that we'll be getting, so that'll be rather interesting to see how that plays out. And I don't think there's a release date for that movie yet. I don't think. I'm pretty sure it's coming out this year. I may have got that wrong, but we'll have two Pinocchio movies in the works. One of them by Del Toro, and the other one by Robert Zemeckis. Two very good directors, famed directors in their own right. So we'll see which one wins out in the end. But I'm really looking forward to the Del Toro one because I'm a huge fan of his, and and I know he's been working on this thing for quite some time. All right, so we're going to talk about the last trailer that came out this week, at least at the time of this recording, obviously. And that trailer is the first trailer for Pearl. This is the prequel movie to X, which was, of course, directed by Ty West, his horror slasher that came out earlier this year. In fact, at the end credits of X, there was a teaser for Pearl. This is the trailer, and while some of the footage that in that post-credit teaser do appear in this is a completely new thing. So it's not the same trailer, at least from what I can remember. Pearl will follow, the title character of Pearl in her younger years. Pearl, FYI, was the old woman in X, in which another fun fact was played by Mia Goth. Goth played Pearl and her character Maxine, so she pulled double duty in that movie, and now she's coming back just to play Pearl herself at a younger age. Pearl is also set in the early 20th century and centers on Pearl as she tries to become an artist. And as the trailer shows, it looks like there's a casting call that comes in the town that she lives in, and they're going to pick one person and only one person. And it looks like she has a rival that might get in her way. And knowing what we know from X, it kind of gets a little crazy from there. And from the trailer, it shows like it gets a little crazy from there as well. So the prequel actually came about rather interestingly because they filmed X. And they filmed X in New Zealand during quarantine, during the pandemic. And while they were there, West came up with the idea, wrote the script, and brought Mia Goth in on the idea because she was already playing an older Pearl, and A24, which of course released X. And they loved it so much that they pushed production right away on the movie because they were already in New Zealand. They already had a crew. They already had Mia Goth there. And in fact, they used some of the crew from Avatar: The Way of Water, which were filming at the same time because they were in the same country and they were on break from that movie, and then they just kind of hired them over to work on Pearl. So they filmed Pearl a few weeks after production and on X, and then obviously when A24 saw the reaction that X got, they were thrilled about it enough that they were like, okay, we're actually going to release Pearl, and we're also going to do a sequel to X. So there is a sequel to X coming. I think we talked about that on the podcast when it was announced. But yeah, so we have a prequel and a sequel to X coming out sometime. I mean, the X sequel will come out sometime, but Pearl will come out this year on September 16th. So go check that out. If you have not watched X yet, I'm pretty sure it's on VOD in some places already. If not, I don't know why it's not, but I'm pretty sure it's out already on VOD if you want to go check it out. It's very good. It's a slow burn. Just warning you, it is a slow burn kind of movie. Not for everybody, but it's rather interesting. And to go back to these characters is pretty cool because X, when you look at it, it's supposed to be kind of like this exploitation, kind of gritty, kind of, I don't want to say smarmy, that's not the right word I want to use, kind of grimy feel, kind of like a lot of people were comparing it to Texas Chainsaw Massacre and how it looked. It kind of has that feel, and it's supposed to have that feel. Pearl, completely different. It is bright, it is sunny, the colors just pop. It is nothing compared to how X looked, and the fact that it's directed by the same guy with the same kind of crew is amazing. So yeah, Pearl coming out on September 16th. Once again, we'll talk obviously more about that once we get closer to that release date, because I'm looking forward to that. I really am. All right, those are all the trailers that came out this week. All the trailers are linked down below in the description/show notes area if you want to watch them for the first time or you want to watch them again. So yeah, go check those out. All right, so let's move on to this week's movie news items of the week. All right, so let's start off the movie news with some rather quick-fire news items. There is another VHS movie on the way, titled VHS 99, and it will stream on the horror streaming service Shudder this year on October 20th. The movie is the 5th installment of the horror anthology movies that will feature a brand new batch of directors, which will be for the first time since the movie series started. However, series directors Radio Silence David Buckner will return, or have already returned, to produce the movie because, again, this movie's coming out this year. They've already filmed those movies and edited them, and they're ready to go. So the new directors are Johannes Roberts, which is probably the biggest name of these directors. Johannes Roberts directed 47 Meters Down, The Strangers Pray at Night, and recently Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, which was not good. But 47 Meters Down, surprisingly good. Strangers Pray at Night, of those three movies, probably his best one. The other directors are Vanessa and Joseph Winter, who are new to the scene, having directed a horror comedy called Deadstream, which will come out this fall. So I'm assuming this movie played at a film festival and they saw it and they just wanted to bring them in. Maggie Levine, who directed My Valentine, which was part of Blumhouse's Into the Dark anthology over on Hulu. So if you want to go check that out, get an idea of what she's all about. Tyler McIntyre, who directed Tragedy Girls, is also part of the director's crew. And finally, musician turned director Flying Lotus, who, yes, that is the name on the press release, so that is the name I'm using, who directed a movie called Kuso. They also have another movie in the works called Ash that they're working on. Those are all the directors. The anthology series is said to be, quote, a punk rock theme. So get ready for that. And we'll once again stream again on Shudder on October 20th. I only saw the first 2 VHS movies. I didn't see the other ones. I know the last one that came out, I think it was VHS 84 or something along those lines. I think it had an 80s title in it. I heard a lot of segments in that movie were good. I think the one that not a lot of people liked was VHS Viral. So I haven't watched it. So I have to go back and watch some of those. I had to go back and watch the first 2 again because I did enjoy the first one for what it was. I remember liking part 2, and I remember liking a lot of different segments in part 2. I didn't like the whole thing, but that is the case with anthology movies. You're gonna like one story more than the other one, probably most of the time. But yeah, there you go. If you're into the VHS movies, there's another one on the way coming out on October 20th. Netflix was in the news a lot this week, obviously, as you can tell. Netflix has finally given the sequel to Extraction a release date. They finally gave that movie a release date. Filming wrapped in April, and Chris Hemsworth will return to play Tyler Rake, a former Australian Special Forces operator turned mercenary. In the first movie, if you remember, Rake was tasked with, extracting the son of a crime lord who had been kidnapped. No word on what the movie will be about or who will return from the first movie, but writer Joe Russo did say the movie will have a, quote, different color scheme. It's set in a different part of the world, but it has a different pace, a different tone than the first one. We're not going to get the exact same movie you got the last time. His words, not mine. So we'll have to wait and see on that. Besides Hemsworth and the Russo brothers both returning to produce the movie, the director, Sam Hargrave, will also return to, well, direct. So when the movie is coming out, we don't have an exact release date, but they did say that it will come out sometime next year. If they're going to follow the Extraction route, and when they released it in the summer, so we'll probably have Extraction coming out in the summer sometime next year. Hopefully that's the case, and if that's the case, we'll hopefully get a teaser or some sort of trailer soon for that, hopefully. Looks like Ben Affleck isn't done with Batman yet. In an Instagram post, Jason Momoa revealed that Affleck will make an appearance in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. The movie is going through some additional filming right now, especially since the movie got pushed back earlier this summer from December to next year on March 17th. We don't know too much about the movie, but James Wan is returning to direct with the returning cast of course, Jason Momoa, Amber Heard, whether we like it or not, Tamora Morrison, Patrick Wilson, Dolph Lundgren, and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. Pilu Asbeek, which we talked about earlier, is also in the movie in an unknown role. We don't know who he's playing or even suggesting who he's playing, but there you go. Ben Affleck coming back as Batman. I'm a fan of it. I love it. I've always been a fan of Batfleck. I was on board from the get-go, and I was a bit of ashamed that he was going to come back and play Batman, but it looks like he's coming back. We don't know how big his role is. It looks like it probably might be a minor role. It did look like he was in a suit in the picture with Jason Momoa, so he may have been playing Bruce Wayne as opposed to actually Batman, but we'll obviously have to wait and see how that turns out and what happens there, but I'm cool with it. I like it. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of Batfleck, so give me more Batfleck anytime. Charlize Theron and Alfonso Cuaron, the director of Children of Men, Gravity, and Roma, are partnering with Amazon Studios on a project based on the personal life of famed sci-fi author Philip K. Dick from his daughter Isa Hackett. The genre-bending project is based on the relationship between the writer and his twin sister Jane, who sadly died 6 weeks after birth. The death affected Philip K. Dick personally and reportedly influenced a lot of his creative work. Theron, Cuaron, and Hackett will produce the movie, which is being developed with an eye for Alfonso Cuaron to direct and Charlize Theron to star in the movie. The movie's description reads like this, quote, a moving, suspenseful, and darkly humorous story about a woman's unique relationship with her brilliant but troubled twin, who also happens to be celebrated novelist Philip K. Dick. While attempting to rescue her brother from predicaments both real and imagined, Jane plunges deeper and deeper into a fascinating world of his creations. This sounds really cool. It sounds really interesting. Obviously, it sounds like his daughter, Isa, this is something that she had been working on for a while, and I guess bought to Amazon Studios or been, shipping it around, and Amazon was the first one to, really taking it and go with it. I think this is really cool that they're going to be doing this. And I didn't know anything about, I didn't know this. I didn't know that Philip K. Dick had a twin sister that died very close after, she was born. That very, very sad. And knowing that affected him a lot and also influenced his work is amazing. And it just makes you think, for someone, for me, who did not know this, it just makes me wonder, like, just to go back and read his stuff or to go back and look into this guy's life. This is so, it was mind-boggling to me when I read this because I didn't know. So it kind of threw me for a loop. So I think this is really cool. And you have, obviously his daughter in it, so it's going to be very respectful to him and his story. And, the twin sister Jane, he has Charlize Theron in there. She's presumably probably playing Jane herself, although we don't, no report doesn't mention that. And then you have Alfonso Cuaron, Children of Men, Gravity, Roma, just 3 movies of his you can rattle off, all great movies. So yeah, I'm totally excited to watch this when it finally comes out. All right, let's move on to the next movie news item. Taron Egerton, of course, from the Kingsman series, is also in the TV miniseries right now called Blackbird, which is supposed to be very, very good, and he's supposed to be very, very good in it. I believe that's on Apple TV Plus, if I'm corrected. I just heard it was very good, and he was very good in it, so I think that's where it is. So try to check that out. But he has joined the holiday action thriller currently titled Carry On, which will be directed by Hamet Khaled-Serra, who directed Orphan, The Shallows, Jungle Cruise, and the upcoming Black Adam. The movie is the first of Amblin Entertainment and Netflix's new deal, which they signed last year in June. Amblin Entertainment, by the way, of course, studio that Steven Spielberg is in charge of. The script was actually written 8 years ago by comic, film, and video game writer T.J. Fixman, but the script recently got polished by Michael Green, who has had his hands in writing movies like Logan, Alien Covenant, Blade Runner 2049, and I Met Colette Sarah's Jungle Cruise. The logline for the movie: what was supposed to be a typical hectic Christmas day at the airport turns into a nightmare for TSA agent Ethan Kopech, which of course will be played by Egerton. When confronted with a dangerous package, Ethan is blackmailed by a mysterious traveler who somehow has information they're holding over the agent's head to allow the package to pass through security. Reportedly, Egerton felt a connection to the script despite having a number of offers for future projects, and was the first and only person to audition for the role of Ethan Kopech. Plus, he and Colette Sarah hit it off very much so that they wanted to work together on the project, so now they're going to be doing that. There's no further details on the movie, but a director and star in tow. Production could start sooner rather than later, so obviously keep an eye on that. And again, this is a Netflix deal, so this movie may be dropping up on Netflix, so for more eyes to get on it and get on it faster. The next movie news item: MGM is developing yet another Rocky spin-off after the success of Creed, and that spin-off is Drago. That's right, they're doing a spin-off movie about the villain. Robert Lawton has been hired to write the script after winning over the studio with a spec script that he wrote called Becoming Rocky, which was about the making of the first Rocky movie. And although MGM didn't move ahead with that movie, they did give him the duty of doing this movie. Rumors did start a while back. Even Drago himself, Dolph Lundgren, back last year in 2021, said there was talks about doing a Drago movie. However, there is conflicting reports because some reports say that Lundgren may or may not come back, and there's reports saying that Florian, I'm going to mispronounce his last name, Montanu, I think that's how I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. He played Drago's son in Creed 2, that he may or may not also come back. So there's conflicting reports saying that it's going to be about the Drago siblings, or the Drago father-son dynamic, or just Drago himself, or even, his son. So there's conflicting reports that they may come back and not. But, assuming that they do come back, I think it'll be really cool. They can do what they did with Creed and make it kind of a comeback story, and obviously it can be very hard to kind of make him the hero of that story, but maybe we'll never know. Or if they don't come back, or they do come back and they can't get him back full time, they can do something like a prequel kind of, and use like the flashback technique of it's him in present day thinking about his past life, and then you get someone else to play a young Ivan Drago. Although, I think part 2 did kind of open, the doors to them doing that. And I think that's why kind of the rumblings kind of started that, we're going to follow these guys again. So I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully we'll find out sooner rather than later. In the meantime, we can watch Creed 3 when that opens later this year in November. And I don't think we'll get a clear picture of a Drago spinoff, but Creed 3 is coming out. So there is that. I wouldn't mind seeing a Drago spinoff. I do hope that they probably bring them back. I think it'll be interesting. And again, they brought, I think there was little tidbits there in Creed 2 that they can jump off of. I think that'd be pretty cool. But we'll obviously have to wait and see on that. And obviously MGM wants to keep the Rocky train going, because Creed 3 might be the last Creed movie that we get. And I know Sylvester Stallone has been very, what's the word I'm looking for? He's been very vocal about wanting the rights back to Rocky. I think he wants to do one more Rocky movie, and I don't think MGM is going to let him. But we'll see what happens with that. Well, it looks like Creed won't be coming out this year. Literally, behind the scenes podcasting, you guys know that I do a bulk of the recording, the day before the podcast is out, and then edit everything afterwards. So literally, right after I was done recording on Thursday afternoon, I, checked the movie news like I do all the time. Thursday night, I see that Creed 3 has been delayed. So, like I mentioned, it was originally set for November this year. However, the movie will now open next year on March 3rd. There's no reason why for the delay. They just delayed it. I don't know why. Again, I don't know why. Maybe it's just not ready. Who knows? The movie will now go head to head with the pretty good looking Dungeons and Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves. That trailer came out over Comic-Con weekend. That that looked really good. That looked way better than I thought it would. But now it's going head to head with that. Michael B. Jordan will be making his directorial debut on Creed 3, but plot details are still unknown at the moment. We do know, however, that Tessa Thompson and Felicia Rashad will return to reprise their roles, and then Jonathan Majors will appear as the apparent villain or antagonist of the movie, and Sylvester Stallone will not return, although his story was pretty much wrapped up in Creed 2, and again, maybe the whole thing with him wanting the Rocky rights back, who knows. But there you go. Creed 3 Creed 3 has been delayed to next year, unfortunately. Not even a full week after its release. It's a full week now that I'm telling you this news, but when it was announced, it wasn't even a full week. Netflix announced the Russo brothers' The Gray Man is getting not only a sequel, but is also getting a spin-off. The brand itself is based off a novel series by Mark Greenlee, which started back in 2009 and has 11 novels so far, with the 12th novel coming out next year. There's no word yet on what the sequel will be about, but the Russo brothers will return to write along with Stephen McFeely, who also co-wrote this movie along with Christopher Marcus, although Christopher Marcus was not in their initial report, so I don't know if he's not going to come back to write the sequel or not, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But either way, the sequel is, of course, coming for The Gray Man, and The Gray Man himself, Ryan Gosling, will come back as well. There's no word on who else will come back, but with the initial creative crew and Ryan Gosling, I'm assuming, it's only fair to assume that any of the characters that survived the first movie will come back for the sequel. As for the spin-off, that will be written by different writers. It will be written by Paul Renwick and Brent Reese, who, of course, wrote Zombieland and Deadpool, although no other information is known about the spin-off as well. But if you watch the first movie, we can maybe assume who the spin-off will be about. It may be about Ana de Armas' character, because I think that will be interesting to have her character have her own adventures. Maybe another character. I won't, in case you haven't seen it yet, maybe there's one other character, pretty important, that kind of just walks away. Maybe we'll follow him. I just gave it away. It's a him, but maybe we'll follow that character. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But for The Gray Man itself, I like The Gray Man. I really did. I enjoyed myself. Chris Evans plays such a good bad guy. He plays such a good bad guy. It's not even funny how good of a bad guy he plays. But he plays such a good bad guy. Ryan Gosling does a really great job here. The action scenes were awesome. That Prague sequence in itself, so good. It's literally so good. So I loved it. I really did enjoy myself watching The Gray Man. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect, but I really, really liked the movie, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm totally game to watching a sequel. I'm totally game for seeing a spinoff, no matter where they go. The plan was to always kind of have this franchise start off, so I'm okay with that. And Netflix seems to be okay with that. They seem to be happy with the numbers, with the reception that it's gotten. So bring on more of The Gray Man. Sequel, spinoff, whatever you want to do, I'm totally happy for it. In some surprising news, the Tomb Raider movie rights are currently up for grabs. MGM has lost the rights recently, and they went back to producer Graham King and his JK Films banner, or GK Films banner, can't read, which apparently started opening bids last week, and apparently the bidding has gotten very, very intense. One source claims it as a feeding frenzy. So it looks like the Tomb Raider rights are very, very popular amongst Hollywood. This said, there was an already announced sequel to the 2018 film, which of course starred Alicia Vikander as Lara Croft, and had plans for her to return in the role. They also had hired a director and HBO series creator for Lovecraft Country, Misha Green, set to direct, and she was very excited for it. Apparently her and Vikander hit it off, and she had a very good story for the script and everything. And it sounds, from the reports anyway, that project is dead. And they are going to be starting from scratch, because the reports also say that Alicia Vikander is not returning to play Lara Croft, no matter where the rights end up. Probably also means that there's no word on Misha Green yet. I didn't check her social media, because I'm sure she probably would have something to say. But looks like that project, for whatever it was, is dead. And that's kind of a shame, especially because Misha Green I think she got the role of director last year. I can't remember when, but I know it was last year. So, you know, they've been working on this project for a little bit. No word yet on who is in the running for the movie rights right now, but if the bidding war, like I mentioned, is as intense and a feeding frenzy as they're reporting, maybe we'll get an update sooner rather than later. I thoroughly enjoyed the 2018 movie. I thought Alicia Vikander, first reaction, her playing Lara Croft, didn't, I think fans weren't, appreciative of that. But considering it followed more of the reboot of Lara Croft, she's not as, busty as, I can't believe I just said that on my podcast, as her video game counterpart. She still did pretty good. I mean, it's Alicia Vikander. I mean, come on. She's a good actress. She's a great actress at that. Phenomenal actress. And I thought she did a pretty good job as Lara Croft, and obviously the story they were trying to tell, the way they were trying to tell the story, I thought she handled it very well, and she was one of the best things of that movie. And I was actually kind of excited to see her come back to play Lara Croft again, especially with Misha Green, because Lovecraft Country was very good, and it sounded like Misha Green, like I mentioned, she was very excited to direct a Lara Croft movie, to direct another Tomb Raider movie. And I don't know. But the rights going back were kind of surprising. Again, we haven't really heard anything from MGM, and even Vikander, I think she probably knew, because anytime someone asked her about Tomb Raider, she was very standoffish is not the word. She was very she kind of was distancing herself a little bit. She was always like, oh, I don't know if we're doing it. It sounds like we're doing it, kind of feel. So I think she probably knew that MGM was going to lose the rights and they were going to go back to Graham King and GK Films. I don't know. We'll see where it ends up. I mean, it sounded from the reports also that MGM is kind of restructuring how they're doing things after they got bought up by Amazon earlier this year. I think it was earlier this year. It was earlier this year, maybe late last year. So MGM sounds like they're kind of just trying to refocus a lot of the stuff, and unfortunately Tomb Raider, I guess, didn't fit into that scenario. If Netflix wants to take it, that seems kind of fair. I would think Netflix is working on an animated series for Tomb Raider. I think that's still happening. So maybe if a streaming service is going to take it, then Netflix seems like a viable option. Or maybe one of the big studios like Warner Brothers or Paramount or Universal will end up taking the Tomb Raider movie rights. But it'll be interesting. Obviously, I'll keep an eye on it, and obviously whatever studio ends up with it, if it's again is as intense as a bidding war can get, they're probably going to push a Tomb Raider movie franchise, potentially, maybe even TV series, who knows, as soon as they get them. So obviously I'll keep an eye on that and see what happens, but a little bummed out we won't see Alicia Vikander playing Lara Croft again, because again, I thought she was very good in that role. All right, now let's talk about the big movie news item of the week, at least at the time of this recording. It's a rather small, quote-unquote small movie news item, but it has very big implications. So after the announcement at Comic-Con that one of the two next Avengers movies will be titled Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, of course referring to the MCU's next big bad villain, Kang the Conqueror, played by Jonathan Majors in Season 1 finale of Loki, and the upcoming Ant-Man the Wasp: Quantumania, where he's going to play the main villain. The next step was to find a director. Right? A lot of people assume that maybe the Russo brothers will come back. They have been vocal about wanting to come back and especially direct Avengers Secret Wars, which was the other Avengers movie that was announced at Comic-Con. But that won't happen because Kevin Feige has said that they're going a different direction. Anyway, going back to this. Just mere days after Marvel dropped their next phases, Marvel announced the director of Avengers: The Kang Dynasty is none other than Destin Daniel Cretton, who directed Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. At the moment, Cretton is only directing The Kang Dynasty, despite Kevin Feige saying that the next two Avengers movies, similar to Infinity War and Endgame, would basically be two-parters. So Cretton will be staying in the Marvel family. Of course, he directed Shang-Chi. He's going to come back for Shang-Chi 2, which there's reports saying that Shang-Chi 2 will be announced at D23 soon. And he's also working on a Disney Plus series of Wonder Man, which is a character from the Marvel Comics. Now, Creighton now joins the surprisingly small list of Avengers movies directors. Obviously, Joss Whedon directed the first 2 Avengers movies, and then the Russo brothers directed the last 2. Avengers: The Kang Dynasty will open in theaters on May 2nd of 2025, with Avengers: Secret Wars opening up a few months later in the same year on November 7th. Yes, we do not have to wait a full year for 2 Avengers movies. We are spoiled. We are very, very spoiled nerds. And some of us can appreciate it, and some of us apparently cannot. And since we're on the subject of directors, Marvel, for their part, has been hiring directors for their future Phase movies. And we'll talk about the Phase movies in a little bit. I didn't get to do a Comic-Con episode because life came forward and stuff like that. But they are full on going full steam on their movies already. Basim Tariq, who directed a movie called Mogul Mowgli, is directing Blade, which will go into production in October. And they announced a release date for Blade for next year on November 3rd. Julius Ono, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He directed a movie called Loose. He's directing Captain America: New World Order, which will open on May 3rd of 2024. And Jake Shear, who directed the movie Paper Towns, will be directing the Thunderbolts movie, which is supposed to end Phase 5, and that will come out in July 26th of 2024. So let's just talk about the phases. I have them listed down here. Now I don't know what I'm doing. I have them listed down. Okay, so Phase 4, which we're currently in, will end with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever later this year. And the trailer for Black Panther just broke everybody because it made everybody cry. And that trailer is very, very good. If you've not seen, for whatever reason, if you live under a rock, have not seen the Black Panther: Wakanda Forever trailer, go watch it. It is so damn good. It is so good. It's emotional. It hypes you up in the right amount of levels, and everyone's reneging. Oh, they're gonna ruin Black Panther. Why didn't they recast Black Panther? Why didn't they recast T'Challa? This movie shows you why. It shows you immediately why they did not recast T'Challa right away. And there you go. All right, go watch it. So anyway, Phase 4 ends with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and then Phase 5 will begin with Ant-Man: Quantumania coming out in February of next year. Then that's followed by Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 on May 5th, The Marvels on July 28th, Blade on November 3rd, which we talked about, Captain America: New World Order May 3rd of next year, of 2024, not next year, and then Thunderbolts on July 26th, 2024. Then we go into Phase 6, and obviously there's a lot of stuff that has to be announced before in there. But Feige already said, Kevin Feige, of course, Marvel CEO, the head of Marvel, said that there has already announced Phase 6 movies. One of the first ones he announced was obviously the first 2 that he announced, of course, was the Avengers movies: Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, May 2nd, 2025, and Avengers: Secret Wars, November 7th, 2025. The other movie though that he announced is Fantastic Four, which will open on November 8th of 2024. And there's already rumors starting to spread that we'll get some announcements on Fantastic Four at D23 as well. And Kevin Feige also revealed that Fantastic Four is not going to be an origin movie. It's not going to tell the origins of Fantastic Four. They already will have their powers, which is really cool. So that's obviously, a sigh of relief by many fans probably. So we'll see how that plays out. There's a lot of time between now and then. So maybe we'll see the Fantastic Four at some point in these movies. It would make sense that we'll probably see them at some point before their actual movie. I don't know. We'll see. And yes, this is a movie podcast, but with Marvel, you probably should watch the Disney Plus shows as well. Loki was a big thing that will connect to what we're going on. We have the multiverse saga going on right now, or it's going to start the multiverse saga soon, and that really started with Loki. So and then obviously Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, WandaVision played into that. So you gotta pay attention to the Marvel Plus. You don't have to pay attention to all of them, but you gotta pay attention to a good chunk. But going back to the actual news tidbit of this with Destin Daniel Creighton, him directing Avengers: The Kang Dynasty is really cool. He did an awesome job with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. He just has this style and this flair about him, and if he can bring that to an Avengers movie, and he can bring that to an Avengers movie where the main villain of the movie is Kang the Conqueror, I think that's gonna be really cool. And people are already saying that Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is going to change the MCU a little bit and some of the characters. So, I mean, with Kang the Conqueror in there, I think that's I think that's a fair assessment to say. But I really like Destin Daniel Cretton and what he did with Shang-Chi, so I'm looking forward to seeing how he brings that style and that flair of his to the Kang Dynasty. I think that'd be really cool. Okay, that's it. That's all the movie news I got for you guys, at least at the time of this recording. If anything drops, anything like real big drops, I'll put it right here, hopefully before before it goes out to the world. If not, let us move on to the movies that are coming out this weekend.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
All right, the movies coming out this weekend. We have one movie streaming for you guys, at least one big movie streaming for all of you. It's called Not Okay. This will be dropping up on Hulu. It follows an ambitious young woman played by Zoe Deutsch who finds followers and fame when she poses as a survivor of a deadly attack in Paris, but soon learns that the online notoriety, couldn't say that word, comes with a terrible price. This movie also co-stars Dylan O'Brien, who plays a social media celebrity and someone that Deutsch is trying to impress. So I found it funny because this is the second trailer that came out. I guess the first one was a teaser. But the teaser that was released not too long ago, it started off with a quote warning saying this movie will follow a character that is very unlikable and then you will not like. So it's already trying to warn you that you're not supposed to root for Zoe Deutsch's character. So she kind of just plays like she's trying to like. I remember seeing the trailer and I think it was released like last week too. She's like trying to like prove herself. She's trying to prove to other people that she can actually do something, and then. She's really good with Photoshop because she makes it look like she's in Paris, and then she sees on the news one day that she sees that her phone is blowing up at some point, and she turns on the news and there's an attack that happened in Paris, so she has to sneak into the airport and come back home, and then obviously everything she instantly becomes a celebrity, an internet celebrity, and eventually people find out, I guess, that she lied, and it goes from, it kind of snowballs from there. So there you go. It's called Not Okay on Hulu if you want to go check that out. Let's go to theaters now. We have a limited release. So Netflix is not the only one that's doing this, because it looks like Prime Video is doing this a little bit too. So there's a limited release for 13 Lives. And this is a movie directed by Ron Howard and is based off the rescue of the soccer team that was stuck in the cave in Thailand that happened years ago. So this is obviously the movie. We talked about this on the podcast when it was first announced, but it's finally coming out in a limited release in theaters this weekend, and then next week it will be available on Prime Video for all you to watch. So limited release. If you want to go watch it in theater, if you really want to go watch it in theaters, there you go. But if you want to wait till next week, it will be coming out on Prime Video, and I'll remind you guys next week as well that this movie's out on Prime Video. But limited release in theaters this week, 13 Lives. The other limited release in theaters this week is a movie called The Vengeance. This is written, directed, and starring BJ Novak. He's been in a bunch of stuff, but I think most people will probably remember him from The Office now. He plays a radio host from New York City and attempts to solve the murder of a girl he hooked up with, and travels down south to investigate the circumstances of her death and discover what happened to her. This movie co-stars Issa Rae, Boyd Holbrook, and Ashton Kutcher. I saw the trailer for this when it first came out, and it didn't really grab me at first. It felt kind of like kind of out there a little bit, and I think that's supposed to be the point of the movie a little bit. He's supposed to be kind of, obviously this fish out of water who goes somewhere he's not obviously from. But there you go, Vengeance. It's BJ Novak. I think this is his directorial debut, so I think that'll be pretty cool that he's doing this. It's always really cool to see actors make directorial debuts, especially actors that we all know and love, like BJ Novak. I think that's kind of cool. So there you go. Moving on to the next movie. This is actually a re-release. Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's coming back into theaters. A24 knows that they have a cash cow in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and they're bringing it back in theaters for this week with not just the movie, but it's also an introduction by the Daniels, the directors of the movie. They will be doing an introduction to the movie, I guess probably thanking everybody, that they came out and watched the movie and they're going back to watch the movie again. And they will also be including the blooper reel for the movie during. I don't know if it's going to be like a post-credit scene or something like that, but yeah, they're showing that as well. So if you want to go watch or haven't watched Everything Everywhere All at Once or want to go watch it again, it's playing at some movie theaters again for the re-release this week. But the final movie coming out in theaters this week, probably the big one, obviously, is DC League of Super Pets. The course has the voice cast of Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart, Kate McKinnon, Natasha Lyonne, Vanessa Bayer, Diego Luna, Thomas Middleditch, Ben Schwartz, John Krasinski, Mark Maron, and Keanu Reeves. Bunch of people in there. DC League of Super Pets animated DC movie. Dwayne Johnson voices Crypto, and I guess Superman gets kidnapped and he enlists the help of a bunch of I think foster animals, or animals from like the neighborhood that he's a part of, to go help him rescue Superman. I don't know. I'm not interested. I'm not completely interested in this movie. Although I will say, if there wasn't any COVID around and it was really safe to go back into a movie theater, I probably would have gone and ended up watching this. But yeah, I don't know. I'll probably finally take the opportunity to probably go watch Nope this weekend, because Nope is of course still playing in theaters. But yeah, we'll see how that works out. But there you go. Those are your movies out this weekend. Everything Everywhere All at Once is getting its re-release. DC League of Super Pets. Your limited release movies are Vengeance and 13 Lives. And then streaming up on Hulu is Not Okay. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I very much appreciate it. I always appreciate you guys listening to the podcast, no matter where you're listening to this from. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, on Stitcher, on Spotify, on YouTube, I appreciate it. And please go leave me some ratings and reviews. Helps out the podcast in the long run. It shows how much you guys care and listen and stuff like that. I always much appreciate it. And yeah, I'm done. It was a long podcast. I know already that I'm gonna have some problems editing this. In particular, with a few spots. But anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I very much appreciate it, as always. I already said that, but I want to thank you again. Thank you 4 times. I almost said it again. But yeah, that's it. Be sure to be good people, and as always, go watch some movies.
Whoop whoop! Yeah! Give it up! Movies!